Good day, everyone. This is Mark Schmidt, Superintendent of Schools, with today's update regarding last night's board meeting. It is January 19th, 2011. Last night, the school board meeting took place at the High School Media Center. And the first order of business was the school board's reorganizational meeting. That meeting takes place, or those agenda items take place every January. And on those items include selecting a board chair, other board officer positions, as well as a list of committee assignments. Last night, Barb Schmidt stepped down as the board chair, and then the board selected Mary Freeman to chair the board. So congratulations to Mary Freeman. The other committee assignments and members will be posted on our school website as well as our school Facebook page. So if you're interested in finding out which board members are representative of other officer positions and committee positions, please refer to those sites. But congratulations to Mary Freeman on the chair position of the board, and thank you to all the other board members for the work that you do, both as a full board and on the committees they serve. Next item of business was the consent agenda, and consent agenda is basic fundamental items that the board approves all at once. Typically those are things like approving last month's minutes, approving donations, those type of things. John Moore, brought us into the financial items, and John presented the financial report, and then Bob Hammond brought the next agenda item, which was the budget revision 2 for the year. Bob also reported that the state has sent notice to us that they are going to be withholding a little over $500,000 in payments. And I don't have the exact figure, but I believe it's somewhere around $3.5 million that now the board, or that the state has not sent our district. They've been sending IOUs just simply because the state doesn't have the money. Luckily for us, we are still at a point, maybe this last $500,000 may have put us over the edge, but at a point where we do not necessarily need to be borrowing money to maintain our schools, as borrowing money obviously has additional expenses that aren't directly related with student learning. And that is thanks to our staff and our board for maintaining a fund balance that allows us to cushion ourselves in these type of situations. Board approved budget revision 2. We then went on, the board approved a resolution to directing the administration to make recommendations and reductions to programs and positions and reasons therefore. This is an annual resolution that the board approves, and it allows us to make budgetary revisions or reductions in programs where that is needed, and then possibly eventually bring those back to the board. The school board then approved their salary. Their salary, to my knowledge, has been the same for anywhere from 10 to perhaps 15 years. It has been flat, but the board chose to keep their salary as the present rate at $3,214 a year. Final finance item was permission to sell a red van. The school has owned 2 of these red vans. Its 12-year life usage has expired. State statute only allows us to use vans for a maximum of 12 years, so we must sell that now as a district, and the board gave approval for that. There was a presentation by Gerald Nelson for the school to participate in a media page, a web page, I'm sorry. This web page is really a partnership between the city of Staples, Central Lakes College, as well as Lakewood Health, and the school district and National Joint Powers Association. It's a website to help highlight our area and entice and hopefully encourage people to move here. Other possible Future partners with it would be the City of Motley as well as the Lincoln Area Business Association. As I said, hopefully the intent of this website is to get it up and running and help people or encourage people to move here by showing the many positive things that our area has to offer them. The next part moved on to reports, and I'll just I won't give you a detailed report from every area, just some highlights, perhaps some basic highlights is the middle school is starting a Respect and Responsibility program. That's a program where students, they're going to have some differentiation throughout the school day based on students' behavior and homework completion, in allowing us to perhaps better meet student individual needs with that program. The high school is looking at being more creative with their present staff and offering perhaps more on a rotationary basis more electives for students to choose from next year. So I'd like to thank all the staff both at the middle school and high school for thinking creatively and looking at addressing and solving issues and making this a better place for students to come to and learn. So thank you everyone in those facilities. Other reports, Jim Christopherson from Buildings and Grounds reported that there is going to be a bid opening coming up for the freshwater ed building to re-side that. I believe they're having a walkthrough, I believe it's today, January 19th, over there this afternoon. And we hope that we have many of our local contractors that are submitting offers to be able to do that, as we are really working and working to keep as much of our business as local as possible. Another report is that we've begun communications with some of our other area schools on providing perhaps some shared or collaborative staff development time for our teachers and our staff as a whole. Two reasons for this. One of them is to be able to pool our financial resources if we were to bring speakers in or presenters in for our staff, as well as allowing our teachers to be able to communicate and collaborate with teachers outside of our district, especially where we have areas where we may only have one teacher teaching a subject or a couple teachers teaching a subject. This can potentially allow us to really broaden our horizons and learn from not only within our walls, but to learn from other educators in the area. So we've just begun some preliminary discussions on that. There was quite a bit of discussion at the board level regarding an early childhood evaluation of what we offer for our early childhood programs, and looking at creating a model that would consolidate more of our resources and providing perhaps an opportunity for families to have an all-day, everyday preschool option, or some other variations that may better meet family needs. This is one of the steps in developing this was a tour of the Pillager Early Childhood Family Center, and seeing how they've consolidated their resources and made a very user-friendly atmosphere for the children and for parents. And there's quite a bit of discussion at the board level on that. We continue to move forward with that endeavor. Finally, there was a report from the Finance Committee. Our Finance Committee looked at last year's revenues, this year's revenues, and next year's projected revenues, and trying to get a handle on where our district is at financially, both this year as well as looking into next year. An attachment of the sheet that I have right here will be posted on our Facebook page as well as our school district website. But what it shows us is from fiscal year 1999, or I'm sorry, we're not going back that far. From fiscal year 09 to next year's fiscal year 11-12, we're going to see a loss of revenue of about $234,880. That's a subtotal. If you look below that, there's a total of all revenue of $442,058, but that includes other miscellaneous revenue, which is probably not a true number to look at, because the other miscellaneous revenue kind of takes care of itself. So, for example, miscellaneous revenue is what we make off of perhaps student sales when they're doing activities, the yearbook, or concessions, or if we are contracting out a teacher to another district, full or part-time, that the money we receive from that other district comes back from to our school district. So those things kind of self-correct themselves if there's highs or lows in there. So that number isn't really a gauge for where we need to be or make budgetary adjustments. It's really the $234,880, and you'll see that bolded on that document if you choose to look at that. Next step is for us to look at our expenses, to do the same thing, look at last year's actual expenses, this year's projected, and next year's projected, and then to be able to compare this year's expenses with, or next year's expenses with, compared to revenue, and see what type of budgetary adjustments we may need to make. But that was the final report, and that came from the Finance Committee. With that, there's a school board. That concluded the agenda for that evening. We have upcoming meetings, which is a board work session on Monday, February 7th, and the next regular school board meeting, which is February 22nd. Thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful day, everyone, and stay warm in this cold January week. Thank you.